Alrighty, thanks everyone for joining the November 14th, 2017 MicroProfile live hangout. And let's see here. We've got eight folks on today. Thanks everyone for joining. And in the meeting minutes, everyone should have a link. Please add your name, standard operating procedure. The agenda are kind of some things that I just thought I'd jot down. I chatted with Kevin about this yesterday as well. Just try to get any action items, any agenda items that he might have. So the first is, Amelia brought up on a call a while back about having a standard format for the meeting. So I thought I would kind of bring that up here to see, what people thought of this being a more structured meeting. Right now, it tends to be still fairly free flow, but the idea here is to maybe extend the free flow or put more structure around it, with always starting with kind of a roadmap update, project status updates. We tried to do that for a while and got away from it. Perhaps have a 5-minute marketing update if there's anyone from the marketing call, and then just open it up for discussion on top of that, which is kind of what we normally do. Anyone have thoughts about this meeting format? Any suggestions for modification? Wow, lively crowd, lively crowd.
I think it's fine. Yeah.
What are you suggesting to change it to?
And sorry, you're kind of coming. I didn't catch that, Emily.
Oh, okay. So you are trying to propose some changes. So free flow. What are you propose to us?
Okay. If you take a look at the agenda, if you have access to the computer, to the meeting minute page that I pasted in, I kind of suggested a live hangout meeting format, where we first do the roadmap update, followed by status updates, marketing update, and then open discussion, right?
Okay.
And we have 2 potential open discussions listed below for today.
Right. Okay, I understand.
Okay. And then I'll add a meetings section here below. Sorry, a minute section below in our live hangout meeting minutes page. So with this in mind, I think where we're at in terms of the roadmap is we're still trying to deliver a 1.3 this calendar year, which currently includes the open tracing API, open tracing, open API, and John Ament was working on the REST client API. So that's still kind of a December target. We don't, or this calendar year target. We don't have a date, however. So maybe in the status section, what we can do when each of the projects provide a status, we can kind of give an update on those 3, and we could figure out if we have a good time for a release. MicroProfile 2.0 is still targeted for next calendar year. We don't really have a hard date for that. And not quite, I think, a very specific list of what's in 2.0, but we do know that we want to update the existing JSRs to their Java EE equivalents, along with adding JSON binding.
Right. The Eclipse site is showing December 15th for 1.3. Okay.
Thank you. I didn't have that up in front of me.
I'll paste the link.
All right. Let's do that.
Chat. There we go.
Okay.
When you get there, just scroll down and you'll see the date. And the REST client is also for December 15th, at least the date, the tentative date, I guess.
Yep.
And OpenAPI and Open Tracing, December 5th for Open Tracing and December 8th for Open API.
All right. 5th, and the REST client is, sorry, I'm typing as fast as I can. I want to make sure I take notes.
Yeah, REST client the 15th.
Okay. Yeah, if you want to paste the URL in the notes, that would be great. Yeah.
I just did, yeah. I mean, I'm sorry.
In the
yeah, got it.
in the meeting minutes page. Okay.
Got it.
Yeah, I should have had that in front of me here as well. So I apologize for that. So any comments on any additional comments on the roadmap? Okay. Any known additions or subtractions?
We have a very cheap addition to config, so we could add this autoconverter stuff.
To 1.3?
Should be able to make it, yeah.
Another thing is I know the metrics, and I think a Heiko. So you plan for a release for metrics as well, right?
Yeah, so we did a 101 with an improved and augmented TCK that could of course go in, but the spec did not change by itself. And for 1.1, we're trying to get in, but currently I can't really promise that.
So yeah, we are
I didn't hear a config version. I apologize. I didn't hear a config version number. Is it a 1.2 for MicroProfile 1.3?
I lost track about it. So the next version, simply as that. Emily.
So probably, I think Mark probably know that. I would just think 1.1.1 because we didn't change the API, did we?
Yeah.
Yes.
It changes the behavior. So
yeah,
I would just push it forward.
Yeah, we didn't change any Java class.
Yeah, sure, but we pick up converters for the users, so it's a slight change in behavior. But anyway, we discussed this out. Let's say the next version. We didn't discuss this internally, but the content is pretty much clear.
Okay, I'm going to leave them out for now. I just get, adding like dot versions seems a bit too detailed for a MicroProfile release, because typically dot implies bug fixes, right? Or non-behavioral, non-feature changes.
That's the reason why I would change the second digit number and not the bug fix version only.
Okay.
It's not because we want to include the in, so that's why we change the second digit. We have to change the second digit for a reason. Like we didn't change any API for user perspective. Like their existing applications don't need to change.
Okay, just
so we
very
can discuss
briefly.
Offline, I think we can discuss in the
very briefly. Yeah. If we come out and say we only fix the TCK, then it should be just a bug fix version number increase. If we automatically pick up the converters and define this in the spec, then it also will change the spec PDF paper, the wording and the Java doc. So there is a behavior change and the Java doc change and the spec PDF change. If we pick up the automatic converters and write this into the spec as required behavior, and it will also add some new TCK tests. So it is definitely a behavior change, and it qualifies for a 1.2 version, I think. But we didn't discuss this yet. So
right. Okay, and I don't necessarily want to get too much into that. So we have. It sounds like we have a slight update. I'm going to switch this out of the roadmap unless there's any other roadmap questions, because we can discuss the config stuff in the config update. So, are there any other MicroProfile comments or questions? Roadmap comments or questions?
I know we are going to discuss the release. I just want to ask in the MicroProfile roadmap for the 1.3. So we will all use the new release process. there's a new release process to release the specifications. So in the 1.3 release, do we all need to use that new process, or it's fine to use the existing process? Maybe I ask Heiko. Sorry, John.
So you're wondering which process this should follow?
Yes.
Was that the question?
Yes. Which process are we trying to follow in the 1.3? With all the repository has to use what John Ahmet's new release script.
Oh. Yeah, no, I think that's actually another topic of the discussion today. The automated release process is what you're talking about. Yeah, let's hold off. I don't see John on today unless he joined here. Yeah, I don't see him on. Let's see if we can have that one offline. And get John involved in that, because I know there are comments about the process. You know, we don't want it to be fully automated. We still want to have a review. Was the last comment I saw on that thread? Right there, we want some manual review somewhere in there before we actually, published. So I prefer if we kind of finish that one offline and have John as a part of that discussion. Okay, so let's get into a relatively brief overview of each of the projects. So, config, it sounds like there might be, I'm going to put down 1.1.next release forthcoming. What else do you want to say about that release? I think we knew about the you talked about the changes, right? The auto conversion. Anything else in that release?
The question is whether we do just the TCK fix and get this out, or we feel we can add the auto converters, then it's a bigger jump. That's it. We need to discuss in the Google groups.
Yeah, and also for the config, we might be able to sneak in, or we will not sneak in, we might be able to, if we do release, maybe we should pick some other issue to go with as well, to see we can get fix a couple other issues. So I think we can do it in our Git chat, Mark, and to see which issue we should pick and then trying to get it released.
It's definitely too much to discuss for this very group.
For this brief update. Do we have anything on the Open API?
Hey, this is Arthur.
Open API update.
Yep.
Hey, Arthur.
Hey. Yeah. So
yes.
The spec is going good. We got the annotations in the spec. We're just going through them now, just seeing what we have there, if it covers the entire OpenAPI version 3 spec. It's a fairly big specification, so that's why it takes some time, but we're kind of getting help from different people. So hopefully with a divide and conquer approach, we'll be able to close on those annotations pretty soon. We also have another big part of the spec done, which is the models, the programming models. And now we have some issues ongoing for how to use those programming models. So things like filter and model builder, that kind of stuff. So our target, as I talk to the people working on these issues, is for hopefully the end of this week that we're kind of done with all the major pieces that we need to do for the spec itself. We are foreseeing some not issues, but a hard time with the TCK because the work necessary to create all the inputs, with the different annotations. When you look at the annotations, there's like over 20 annotations and then over 20 models. So we're talking about a large number of different combinations of these annotations and scenarios that we need to test. So the TCK is the part that worries me probably more than the spec itself. And also because most people working on this is their first time, myself included. So we're kind of learning as we go along about where the libraries go and how do we build things in Maven and things like that. The one question I had in terms of release is, I noticed that the other specs, they have, quite good information on the ASCII docs, that would allow somebody to learn about the spec with some examples. Is that considered to be kind of when you release something that you can't update unless you bump up your release? Or let's say we release 1.0 and then 2 weeks later we come up with all these good examples that would be good additions to the ASCII doc. Is that something that we're allowed to update after the spec has been released? If it doesn't mean any changes to APIs or TCKs, it's just documentation?
Yeah, you have to release it. You have to reversion it. It's treated exactly same as other artifacts.
Okay, even if it's just documentation, like putting a new sample that helps people understand?
So this is what Mark has brought up for the config. Like we add some new auto conversion stuff. So basically, is provide new things. You have to reversion it. So you have to re-release it. So yeah, so people know this is different from the previous version.
I'm hearing something different from Arthur, though. What I'm hearing is he isn't changing the spec. He isn't changing behavior. He's just providing examples and documentation, right? Which is, yeah, it's not bug fixes. It doesn't change, actual bits that people build against or test against. It's simply, here's how you use the API, right?
Yeah, exactly.
But the thing is, if you use the exactly same version, how people know which version are you talking about?
Well, I think the ASCII docs don't get shipped anywhere, right? Like when a vendor uses
the plan
okay.
with John's new release script that will be released. If I understand correctly. And also it's even currently when you release 1.0, the PDF has to be attached to the your repository and the 1.0 tag. So that's it. So once it's released, that PDF cannot be updated.
From seeing the PDFs in the past, a lot of the content of the PDF comes from the ASCII docs, right?
Sure.
Yes. When you release, if you look at a repository, any repository, there's a tag 1.0 release, and we have to upload the PDF there. So at that point in time, when we did the release, and then the PDF won't be updated for that release. And if you further down, you put anything in the ASCII doc, you can generate anytime. But if anyone want to access, they have to do build themselves because the PDF is not released anywhere unless you do another release. I think you release process is trying to release the PDF in the Maven Central, if I remember correctly. Maybe
so
we'll have to.
Sorry, Emily.
Yes.
I was just going to say that Scott just gave a comment in chat that I think is worth considering, in that any examples for some of these don't actually go in the spec, but in the wiki, and they're just linked to from the spec. So then you don't have to update the spec if the examples don't change. Sorry, if the examples change, but it's in a non-spec breaking kind of way.
Oh, that's a good idea.
I like that.
Yeah,
I like that idea.
So that's the wiki within the GitHub repo, right? Just that different tab? Or is it the Eclipse wiki? Because there's two.
There's a MicroProfile wiki.
Yeah, I think Scott probably meant the MicroProfile wiki.
Okay. Okay, yeah, that's a good idea. If we can say, hey, here's a link for more samples, then that gives us the ability to add more. It's just the reason I'm asking is because we're going to be crunched for time to finish the APIs and TCKs. So samples is definitely something we want to continue building on if we have the opportunity to help people understand it. It's a hard spec to understand if you haven't worked with it before. So, okay, thanks.
Okay. Anyone on open tracing? Okay.
Was there a meeting last week? Because I dialed in and there was nobody there for open tracing. It was last Thursday.
Same for me.
Yeah, I didn't manage to join. I tried to find out from Steve. I cannot get hold of him. Steve Font. Yeah, I will touch base with Steve Font and ask him maybe can provide some updates.
Well, and when I don't know, I guess Steve is leading that group, that working group.
Yes, Steve
Okay.
Font.
If I may make a suggestion, if a meeting is not going to happen, can you just remove it from the calendar? Because I mean, I imagine
I think
have a bunch of people jump.
That's another topic.
Sorry.
That's a calendar. It's very difficult to access. You ask something.
So let's cover the calendar topic because that is going to be an interesting topic.
Good segue.
I don't think it's a hard topic, right? But it's a topic that we need to cover. Okay, I'm gonna say skipped, or I'm gonna say no update. I'll just say leave it that way. Let's see. So we got open tracing, open API, config, metrics.
So we have released a 101, which is only TCK updates. The TCK was relatively big but not complete, and we wanted to update that to give implementers a better test coverage for their implementation. We had basically our first meeting today with respect to 1.1, where we want to have some sub-registry structures for applications and also include integration points for other MicroProfile specs so that they can deliver their metrics under a well-known place if they want to. There will also be a few other changes. And given the fact that today is the 14th and the release is in a month, the next MicroProfile one, I guess we will not make it in there unless there is some extreme luck also.
All right, I apologize. While I was taking notes, I missed your last point about not making something.
Yes, I was saying that we are most likely not in 1.3 unless there is, I don't know, the moon is right and all these things.
Okay, I'm going to put that in the notes. Unless the moon is right. There we go. Okay. Okay, so that's is it just okay? Yeah, it's just not enough runway. So that okay, so that could potentially float into a 1.4 release, right? Or even 2.0.
Yeah,
okay.
Something after 1.3 we will make for sure.
Okay. Release. Perhaps next release is what I'll put down. Okay. Scott, you have anything on JWT?
No, I don't think we're going to be doing anything for the 1.3 release. So I'll start doing planning for 1.1 this week or next.
JWT 1.1 planning starting soon. Okay. Fault tolerance?
Yeah, similar to Scott and also similar to Matrix. So it's we are doing at the moment doing some TCK updates, and also we are trying to add more things. So we are planning for the 1.1. Maybe hopefully in the MicroProfile 1.4 release or 2.0.
Okay. There is. Am I missing something? Config, OpenAPI, Open Tracing, metrics, JWT, fault tolerance.
REST client.
Am I missing?
Health check.
Oh, health check. Yes, thank you.
Yeah, I think they also want to or are working on a 1.1 where the health annotation can be just put on a method with the correct signature without needing to implement an interface. As one of the larger changes, I think. But otherwise, I didn't follow it too closely.
Okay.
I have one for the umbrella, I guess. Potential thing for the umbrella. It's more less coding, more defining about namespaces for various things. So, for example, as I mentioned, with the integration with other specs, we want to give them each a namespace with a sort of a prefix. And then within config, probably you also want to have something like this config option with the name config applies to metrics, while this config option with the name of config applies to fault tolerance. So this namespacing comes up again. And then also something like top level namespacing of saying, okay, everything below MP dot is something that is internal between quotes, and everything that's not MP dot is user settable. And this would be something that we should probably put in the umbrella spec document so that all the other specs can reference it from there. I did open a thread in the Google group about it.
Have or you will. Open up a thread. Sorry, I didn't catch that.
Yeah, I did so. I did open up that, yes, for the discussion, but I think if we want to go that route, which probably is a good idea from my point of view, then we should start that in the MP13 umbrella to lay the groundwork so that all the other updates that come afterwards can use that and directly point to it and so on.
Okay. Yeah, there's not a lot of runway for 1.3, but let's hash it out in the thread. If someone can go grab a link to that thread and paste that link into the meeting notes where I have Heiko's comment, that would be great. Thank you, Anonymous Hyena. Appreciate it. Let's see. Did I miss any other items?
And the rest of the client, but John is not here.
Oh, right. Thank you. I'm going to put down rest client. No update. If I could spell right. All right. Okay, open discussion. The calendar. Yes.
Yeah, quick question before we jump into the calendar. Health metrics or metrics and health check are two different. I thought there were two different efforts, right? Because I'm looking at the Eclipse page here, the one I pasted earlier, and there's just one entry that says health metrics 1.0. And I'm not sure if we're missing a line there for health check.
I think historically Kevin sort of fat-fingered that, from what I recall.
Because they're being delivered separate. They have their own trains, right? I mean, their own.
Yes.
Okay, so we need a new entry here then.
Yes, we do.
Okay.
Yes.
Let's take that as a note in the meeting notes.
Yeah. And who takes care of this page? Is it Kevin or? John or who?
Yeah, Kevin's been doing it. I think either Kevin or I or
yeah,
any committer can do it.
So since he's not in the meeting, you can assign that to him then.
Okay, I am going to update MicroProfile technology page and split health metrics into two separate, spec pages. And I will paste this in again. All right. Okay, that was a good catch, thanks. Marketing update, actually. I apologize. The marketing folks. We have Cesar and Teresa on.
Teresa, do you wanna give that?
No, go ahead.
Okay. So we met last Friday, and let's see. I'm just gonna look at the minutes. I posted the minutes earlier today, I think. And so the latest thing that went out on the MicroProfile.io site was the addition of the Oracle logo. I'm not sure if you noticed that on the landing page. And then there's a short blog post announcing or welcoming Oracle to the community, MicroProfile community. That's in the blog section of MicroProfile.io site. During last meeting, we went over the the activity groups we had identified as a result of the meeting. We all had Java 1. So we've identified 5 different, buckets, categories, marketing categories. The first one is driving awareness and membership. Second one is events. Third one is content. Third one is demo, which is the integrated demo. And the last one is ARPR. Let me just cut and paste the link to the minutes here, just in case we don't have it. And let's see, we discussed assigning those kind of ownership of those buckets to different people within the marketing subgroup. So Amy from IBM, she is leading the events. I am leading the driving awareness and membership, and Teresa is leading the content category. We're still looking for volunteers for the integrated demo one and the ARPR category. We also discussed focusing instead of trying to do everything in one shot. We discussed identifying 3 things to do in the short term. One of them was D-Zone. And Teresa, you can say a little bit more about that one. There is a new, D-Zone just introduced a new microservices zone, and we're discussing whether or not we should join that or be a sponsor of that. The second one is coming up with a 10-page technical white paper for MicroProfile. And we have to-dos, Teresa and I, to come up with, to find out how much that would cost, because that was another topic of conversation, the budget for next year. And conferences was the third thing. Sorry, go ahead. Was there a question?
That was just a grunt of approval on my part.
Oh, okay. Thank you. So Teresa, do you want to say anything else about anything of what I've said so far? Or anything else?
With the D-Zone microservices part, we're getting more information later on this week. So we'll have more information to update everybody on the marketing meeting on Friday and then the Tuesday meeting afterwards. But it starts in February. They're looking to start off with maybe 3 sponsors and see how it tracks for 6 months before they add more sponsorship. And that comes with a lot of branding and awareness and backlinks and things like that. So, and we don't have any kind of budget information. So as part of identifying the 3 objectives, we're hoping to get that laid out, put together a budget that everybody can look at and agree to, and then figure out how that's going to be divvied up with the participating vendors. But I think it's a little too early to see where we're going with that. But that's ideally what we want to achieve by the end of this month.
Right. And we also talked a little bit about the conference options for next year. Obviously, if there's a Java one, we want to be there. Then DevOps France would be another one, and DevNexus, which is in February of next year. Those are the three that came up and as possible candidates for our presence to be there. And that's it.
I have something to share with you.
Yeah, go
ahead. Basically in Eclipse Europe, I met up with the Eclipse France organizer. So I was invited to be the program committee and to help with the Eclipse conference. Basically, my goal is to set up a new track for the MicroProfile and EE4J. Next year we'll plan to invite speakers and etc. So I'm wondering maybe that's a good conference to support. From MicroProfile community, and then if this is quite successful, and then we can influence the EclipseCon Europe as well. I think these two conferences are quite relevant from the MicroProfile point of view.
Which one was it? The one in Paris, you said?
EclipseCon France.
Oh, okay.
So that will be in June. So basically, I just started talking with Tracy. So my goal, and she gave me approval. Basically, I'm helping to set up a new track, MicroProfile and EE4J.
How many attendees? You were there, right? How many attendees were there at that conference, Emily?
No, I haven't been to the EclipseCon France before.
Oh.
I do not quite know, but I can find out. But I think yes.
No, so we should find out. It seems pretty relevant since we're an Eclipse project. Is the reason why it's an EclipseCon conference. So let's see if we can maybe dig in a little bit for before the next meeting and come back with the next meeting and figure out if it's something that we should, how much we should invest in.
Yeah. I will find out the attendees and location wise and etc. That will be in June next year.
Okay.
So hopefully we can make a big splash with the track MicroProfile and EE4J.
Yep. That's all I had for the marketing update. Thank you, Heiko, for the link. I'm gonna go ahead and broadcast it in social media too.
As consider adding EclipseCon France.
All
right. Open discussion. So when we first created the MicroProfile project, we had Heiko Rupp created a calendar, so it's under his name, and we've been, this is before we had any infrastructure whatsoever. That's what I meant, Heiko Braun. Sorry, Heiko. Sorry, Heiko, other Heiko. Yes, it was Heiko Braun. And I think it was always meant to be a temporary thing. It was just whatever it took to get things moving forward, we did. So now it's getting to the point, I think, where we need to open up the calendar in a different way. So it's the Google Calendar. I'm guessing one way that we can do this is to create a new Google Calendar, but have it under the Google account that we have, right? So one question to Cesar, I think Cesar, you created, is it MicroProfile IO? Is that the Google account?
Okay, the Gmail?
Yeah, yeah.
Yes, I
Okay.
think so, yes. I'm not sure we
So
have so
what?
many accounts, but I do have the password for it, yeah.
You do.
Yeah. So I think,
Yeah.
Teresa, you created it.
Yeah, the MicroProfile marketing account, I think.
Yeah, which is
Yeah. So the question is, we could create a separate calendar under that account, and then grant access to that calendar, maybe for project leads of each of the projects, right? And they can go off and host their own, manage their own calendar entries, right? The prime example came up today, right? There was a one planned, they wanted to delete it and they couldn't, right? And so I think I updated the calendar entry yesterday. That was one of John Emmett's calendar entries. He wanted to move the time. And so it's just not very efficient always kind of waiting on, the few people that do have access to, a personal member's account. So does anyone, I guess, have any issues with us moving this to a MicroProfile IO marketing account and just granting access to all the project leads to the calendar? Any other ideas besides that?
So the current calendar is not a Google Calendar?
Yeah.
Really? What kind of calendar is it? Never paid attention.
It's just whatever they use. It's an iCal link that you can
MicroProfile
basically add.
calendar. The Google Calendar. It's not a Google. Yeah, it's calendar.google.com.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it is a Google Calendar. The current calendar is the Google Calendar.
And who owns it? Can we change the ownership to?
Heiko Brown.
Don't know.
Basically,
There's no way to change the ownership.
We can find out if there's a way to move a calendar. If we can't move a calendar between accounts, then we'll just have to recreate the calendar. To be honest, it's not a ton, right? It's a bunch. It's probably 5 or 6 repeating meetings overall.
All right.
So it's not like a ton of work to just copy and paste basically or re-enter.
Yeah, I'm all for making things easier, obviously. So yeah, sure. If we, ideally, I would love to keep this one, but if we want to move it, I mean, if it's easy enough, that's fine for everyone to have access to it, or at least the people that are leading the subgroups and marketing people.
Yeah. So what that does mean is that we would have to, notify people that the existing calendar is going to go away, right? And that we're going to be adding moving it to a new calendar. And notifying people could be troublesome.
Yeah.
Getting people, well, it's actually easy. What you do is you create an event that's like a year long, a meeting that's a year long. When it fills up everybody's calendar, they'll realize they should read the calendar entry note, and it'll say, please delete this calendar. So that's a fallback plan on that. Okay. All right. So it doesn't sound like there's any issues with us doing that. So I think Cesar, between or Teresa, whoever I should work with, we'll work on getting new entries into a create a new MicroProfile calendar under MicroProfile IO, and we can move. I can help, or you guys can rekey. It doesn't matter, whoever does it. The entries over there, and then we can inform people that that's the new default calendar.
If there is a way to change the owner, is there a problem with Heiko Brown not wanting to change ownership or not giving up the ownership? Is that the issue?
No, that's not it. No, it's
okay.
No. I mean, he would. It's I don't know if that's a feature.
Yeah, I just looked it up, and it may be a feature. I was just reading.
Okay, all right. Well, we'll figure it out.
I think in Google Calendar you can assign privileges to other people. So
yeah, and he has been, right? So I have privilege. The problem is it's still under a personal member's account, right?
Okay,
Not like
okay.
an official,
oh yeah,
semi-official, whatever. Yeah.
Yeah. So while I suspect, oh, so I think it's like with the Google Docs, and there you cannot just change a document from one account owner to a different one in a different organization. So I tried that with some private and take it into the Red Hat account or the other way around, because I started it wrong and this was impossible. I really had to copy and paste it and
All
in
right.
a new
Yeah,
organization or the
actually,
other
what we'll do,
account.
yeah, all we have to do is just export a calendar file and then import it into the other one. I bet
Right.
you that'll work.
Okay.
So
Very good.
we'll take care of that.
All right.
So let's see if we can get that done maybe by the next meeting, and then we'll inform everybody that the calendar is moved.
So one more thing is if we can change the ownership as Cesar suggested, I think that would be best, because some people already imported that calendar into their emails and etc. Yeah.
Yeah, if we can't change ownership, then they're going to have to basically import a new calendar file.
Yeah. If we cannot do anything, yeah, that's fine.
Yep. So we'll look into that. Okay. I'm going to take a quick note on that. All right, we got about 10 minutes left. Open discussion. I don't know if we have any. Does anyone have anything for the open discussion?
I have a kind of thing related to MicroProfile.io. I know it's Heiko put a few videos from the EclipseCon Europe, so we did a few presentations, etc. So I would like to get these videos at least like a link to be populated on the MicroProfile.io website. Is that going to be? I don't know. It's quite difficult to edit anything on the MicroProfile.io. Is there any plan forward, like let the committer to be able to update the MicroProfile.io?
Maybe we should have a media section or something, because I don't know if we, on the MicroProfile.io site, I don't know if it's interesting to have there actually, but we don't have these meeting recordings there. They're on YouTube, but we don't have a link to them.
So we do have an action item, I thought, correct me if I'm wrong, Teresa, to add social media icons to microprofile.io, right?
Yeah.
Right.
We have an action item, not taken yet.
And I mean, we can put the YouTube icon, and when you click on it, it can take you to the YouTube channel. I'm not sure if we want to host videos on. We could embed it into a window within MicroProfile.io, but I mean, it's a matter of taste.
Yeah, I mean, it's generally about that content and stuff. I mean, we have a top-level thing presentations that leads to a text that's saying this single one presentation over here shows you. So I guess this could have more flash. And then the blog, it's also basically almost only you publishing, where perhaps we should not have a blog, but something where also these links to articles from others are linked, right. like mine, or I know John Ament published something today that should be linked here and more.
Right. Agree. And that was the original intent. But yeah, lately for the last few months, yeah, it's only been me putting stuff there. So, yeah.
Okay, there's another action. The other thing is,
I apologize. But before we kind of finish this one, Emily, maybe we could write a blog entry in the meantime. Just write say, hey, here's, some, if you want to learn more about MicroProfile, here's some recorded sessions.
Like yeah. Now I know.
Just a blog entry.
Yeah, Oh, log entry. Okay. Yeah, I would like that to be on somewhere in a menu or something though. Because a blog entry,
All
as
right,
we
all
add
right.
more blogs, it's just gonna be pushed down and nobody will ever see it again. The thing is that I finally had some time to figure out how to post a blog about a month ago, and now I've figured out how to do that, um, and I was able to figure out how to add a logo to the landing page, but beyond that, I haven't played with it any further. We had talked about moving this to WordPress also in the past, which I think is a bit more user friendly, but obviously that would take obviously cycles and someone actually doing it.
Take cycles, but I think it's a great idea.
Yeah.
All right. Let's not try and tackle that today. All right. So we'll
Yeah.
let you go. And Teresa and the marketing folks kind of figure out how you want to handle the social media aspect on the site, and then we can add these to the site. So I think it's a great idea. Emily, I think you had something else.
Yeah. So in September we published 8 Eclipse MicroProfile articles. Can you also take that into account? Is that possible to get some the articles? In the MicroProfile social media as well.
Yeah,
What do you
that's
mean?
excellent. The Eclipse newsletter with all the articles, to have that referenced and or the individual ones. That's how I understand Emily. That's excellent proposal.
Yeah. So that means Cesar is going to take that into account as well.
Did you say my name, Emily?
Yeah. So about this about these 8 articles about Stephanie published this September newsletter.
So you want the articles to be put, like you want a menu link on the IO site that takes you to the articles?
Yeah, if we can add a link somewhere.
Okay. So we need media and somewhere to get to the articles. And what articles are you referring to? Do you have like a list of them that?
Let me give you a link.
Okay.
I am assigning some AIs in the meeting notes, so sorry about that. One's Teresa, one's Cesar, but
what?
I'll help out with the calendar.
Okay, thanks.
I posted the link to the chat.
Oh, the newsletter. Okay,
I can also put. Okay, you got double.
Okay, so the article, when you were saying article, you meant the Eclipse newsletter.
Yes, 8 articles in this newsletter.
Got it. Okay.
All right, so I am going to do that. Eclipse newsletter articles. I'll paste that link in. There we go. All right. We got about 4 minutes left. Any other open discussion items?
Before we leave this topic, could I post this as a blog post, or you actually want an article specific window that lists? Because right now we only have this one, right?
I've seen, well, there's other articles that we have around the various news sites about MicroProfile, right? But they're not really, they're all very high level, I think. So yeah, good question. Do we, how do we want to, add these videos and these articles, and at what point do they become stale and we have to,
Right.
we decide to remove them, right? So, I'll leave that up to the marketing folks,
All
right?
right. Very good. We'll figure it out. Thanks.
All right. Nope. I'd like to say thanks to everyone for joining. We'll be back. Oh, in 2 weeks. Quick calendar check. Is that the week of Thanksgiving?
Yeah, next week I'm gonna be off.
It's the 28th. When is Thanksgiving?
It's next week, huh? Next Thursday, I think.
It's all right. So it's the 23rd. Okay. So in 2 weeks we should be okay. So I should be here in 2 weeks. Okay. Awesome. Same bat time, same bat channel in 2
Very
weeks.
good.
And thanks everyone for joining.
Thank you, guys. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Good night.